welcome back to Ember Productions. I am Maxwell Haddad, and I put the M in Ember Productions. Today, we are going to be talking about my top 20 movies of 2022. In fact, there are going to be two videos that do that. Here is going to be the top 20 through 11, and then in the sequel video will be the top 10. Now, the top 10 will be ranked, but here in the 20 through 11, I'm going to do it alphabetically at a certain point, arbitrarily ranking these movies, taking a fine-tooth comb and being like, this one is number 13 and this one is number 16, just didn't resonate with me as something that was worth doing. My goal here is to celebrate cinema. So for these 10 movies, again, numbers 20 through 11, I'm going to present them alphabetically. And the thing is, there are so many more than just 20 movies that I loved in 2022. I thought this was a really strong year for cinema, certainly the best since 2019. And because I think 2019 is kind of an all-time great year for cinema, at least in the modern context, the fact that I'm even contemplating putting 2022 in a similar boat should be a testament to how good it was. And the thing is, there was such a wide variety of movies in every genre: superhero, horror, drama, comedy, musical, animation, and on and on and on. And there are more movies than just these 20 from the year that I absolutely loved. There are movies that I am upset I am not getting to talk about today. And I think what that shows is, go watch what you want to watch. This is just my opinion, and even I am not getting to cover everything that I want to cover. There is just this wide breadth of great movies out there if you take the time to sift through and see everything you want to see. This is my opinion. This is subjective. I'm not making declarative statements. I'm not saying these are the best movies. These are just what I enjoyed the most, what resonated with me, what made me feel, made me laugh, made me scream, whatever it is. So all of that being said, let's dive right in to numbers 20 through 11, presented in alphabetical order. First, we have All Quiet on the Western Front. This movie is immense. It is a harrowing, brutal, gorgeously made German anti-war epic that readapts the classic novel with huge gravitas. The imagery is arresting. I loved the booming score that almost has this little electronic tinge to it, sort of veering on being anachronistic, but not quite, and it works so well and has such impact. The performances in this thing are fantastic. The movie starts with these fresh young faces excited to go to war, believing the propaganda machine, the manipulation by their country that they gotta go fight for what's right, and very quickly we see the joy sucked out of their faces as the horrors of war set in. And this movie does not pull any punches. It is brutal. It is violent. Like I said, it is harrowing. It leaves you feeling dirty and grimy. And I think that is a testament to how really, really good it is and what a great job Edward Berger did directing it. This is unforgettable cinema, and it is definitely a movie that I cannot wait to revisit. It's going to be some time because, as I said, it's really hard to watch, but it has such a great impact, and I think there's a lot to really dissect and dive into the details of this movie. Next, we have The Batman. This is the detective noir Batman movie that and I think a lot of people have always dreamed of. It has the narration, the rain, the lighting. It starts on Halloween. It has a complex mystery plot with so many different people. The way Gotham is built is really strong, with politicians, gangsters, criminals, regular humans, superheroes, villains, all playing their own little part in the events as they unfold throughout this film. Matt Reeves does a fantastic job controlling the narrative and controlling the tone. The aesthetic here is amazing, and the performances match. Robert Pattinson is so darn good as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Zoe Kravitz kills it as Catwoman. Colin Farrell had the year of his career, and he plays this over-the-top, ridiculous version of the Penguin. Paul Dano as the Riddler is so scintillating and mysterious and kind of scary. This movie has such impact for a superhero movie, and I think shows that there's not just one way to do it. You can try all sorts of different things, and that's really exciting as we continue to see more and more superhero movies take risks, do something a little bit different, and I think The Batman does a great job of that. Next, we have The Menu. This is a delicious horror thriller satire about the relationship between the ultra-wealthy and those who serve them. and the dynamic that plays out, the way these wealthy people will frequently mistreat those who serve them or think they're beneath them, the way those who serve them have to just take it on the chin. Or maybe turn the tables on them? I don't know. It has some really hilarious commentary about the world of high-end haute cuisine. It is cleverly constructed. The performances are perfect. Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult, Anya Taylor-Joy, John Leguizamo, Hong Chow. Such a terrific ensemble. There's great food porn, and there's some shocking violence sprinkled in. I thought this movie was just delightful, and in a year of great horror, this was one of my favorites. And speaking of great horror, next we have Pearl. Now, if you watched my top 5 of the first half of the year video, I did have X on there. And I went back and forth. Should I do X? Should I do Pearl? Should I do them both? If you want to, this can serve as me mentioning both of them. But I am going to talk mostly about Pearl here. This is the Mia Goth show. Yes, Ty West directed this really beautifully. I love the use of color. I love the score. I love the way it builds slowly. It's a psychological horror film as we dive deep into what makes Pearl tick, her ambition, her desire to get what she wants no matter the cost. But Mia Goth's performance is what makes this all work. She has a monologue at the end of this movie that is maybe the best acting all year. And the fact that her performance was never mentioned in the same serious contention as actors and actresses who appeared in genres that are more palatable for awards bodies just goes to show that there is still a bit of a bias towards the horror genre. But this movie is delicious and wonderful. It's shocking, and I cannot wait to see how Maxine plays out, if that is indeed the end of this trilogy, and we get to see more Mia Goth. Count me in. Next, we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This is a movie that I was actually really looking forward to because I like Puss in Boots more than any of the other Shrek movies. I was never a big Shrek person. They're amusing. The first two are pretty good. And then Puss in Boots came along, and it just felt like a more serious adventure with humor, with the fairy tale parody, but just it had a little bit more on its mind. And I think this movie has a lot more on its mind. Yeah, it's a rousing, clever, inventive adventure movie. The animation here is maybe the best that DreamWorks Animation has ever done. It's taking inspiration from things like Into the Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machine. It has a kind of watercolor aesthetic at time, almost like concept art come to life. I don't know if you've ever bought one of those, the art of books of animated films where you can see when the artists were just beginning to design how sequences look, and it has that really cool pointed painterly aesthetic. This movie has scenes that look like that, and it is visually mind-blowing, and I loved it. But there's more to it than that. This movie is poignant and gorgeous and emotional. It's an existential journey that hits hard. It deals with heavy topics: mortality and death, found family, the choices we make, and the impact those choices can have on not only us, but those around us. Antonio Banderas' voice work really sells this all. And I'm so glad that this has been a word-of-mouth hit and that people are coming back or seeing it, and it's been having a really healthy run for weeks on end. Even though it's already available on iTunes, it's still doing really well at the box office because it's not just a fun animated movie. This movie has a lot to say, and it takes the audience on this really compelling, awesome journey. Next, we have Matilda the Musical. I loved this show on stage. I thought it was so clever. Tim Minchin's lyrics are next level. Matthew Warchus's direction on stage was so inventive and beautiful. And I think this movie shows that sometimes you just need to get the original people that put something on stage and let them cook with cinema. Now, it helps that Matthew has directed movies before, like Pride, which I think is really great. So it wasn't his first time, but still, he takes what he did on stage and translates it really elegantly and really fun to film. This is such a good stage musical. Emma Thompson is ridiculous and funny and silly as Trunchbull. Lashana Lynch really shows her range. She was incredible in The Woman King this year, and I think she's come to be known as a tough actress playing action roles. But here she shows her tenderness, her sweetness. She gets to sing, and she has a lovely voice. Alicia Weir, who plays Matilda, I don't know where they found her, but she's a star. The singing, the mixing of the music is great. The visuals, there are these moments on stage where they would use the set and they would use letters in a really, really unique way. And I wasn't sure how that would translate to a movie, but they find ways to make it work in a movie while using the expansive sets that they built and everything that you can do in a movie that you can't do on stage. The choreography. There is a reason why that scene from Revolting Children has gone viral. It's because the choreography in this movie is extraordinary. This is just a fun, emotional movie musical, great adaptation of the stage musical, great adaptation of the book. This movie is actually more true to the Roald Dahl book than Danny DeVito's which is a movie I really like, but this has even more in common with the book. Matilda the Musical on Netflix. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Really, really enjoyable. Next, we have RRR. This is a Telugu movie that has just, sort of exploded throughout the last year in cinema in a way I've personally never seen this type of movie hit before. And it really makes me want to explore these movies more because I frankly haven't seen that much of them. This is cinema as excess. This is exuberance. It has musical numbers, action scenes, bromance, tigers, energy to spare. It has it all. I think this is a shining example of what a wild, insane, go-for-broke historical action epic can be. This is kitchen sink filmmaking that works. It is over 3 hours long, and the director, S.S. Rajamouli, takes you on a ride you will never forget. There's a reason people are dancing to Natu Natu when this is screening again in cinemas. There's a reason that this is being talked about, I think, in a way a lot of these films are not. It is just awesome to watch, and it puts, I think it puts a shout out to American filmmakers. Go for it. If you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't, go for it. Next, we have Scream. Now, if you watched my my video earlier last year, where I talked about my top 5 of the first half of the year, I did mention this movie, and there are some movies that I did mention that I'm not mentioning here, and I think that shows how with time you can really have more of an opportunity to see how things sit with you and how your opinions settle. And when it came time to construct this list for these videos, it increasingly became clear to me that Scream was a movie I had to mention. I'll tell you why. More so than arguably any other franchise, the Scream franchise means the world to me. They are kind of my comfort movies. The first Scream movie is what broke barriers for me in horror cinema, and it is still to this day one of my all-time favorite movies. I was a scaredy cat when I was a kid, and it wasn't until I fell in love with Scream and Scream 2 that I realized not only could I handle horror movies, but I could love them as much as any other genre, if not more so. This was interesting, though, because this is the first Scream movie that Wes Craven did not direct. He is unfortunately no longer with us. But they brought on the team who did Ready or Not, which I really, really liked, and they felt like they had the right tone and the right approach to horror to be able to do it, and I think they really, really did a great job. This is a great slasher whodunit. It's a love letter to the franchise and horror in the way the Scream movies always are, with a twinkle in its eye, with a meta approach, with plot elements that call out the tropes of horror filmmaking, and in fact, in this one, call out the way fans have started to engage with movies, with Reddit and Twitter and social media in a post-Last Jedi world. I'm sure it started long before The Last Jedi, but The Last Jedi makes an interesting point in this movie because there are a lot of Rian Johnson jokes. There is a certain level of entitlement that some fans feel that they have towards the movies they love, the characters they love, the franchises they love, and this movie eviscerates that in a really clever way. The kills are great, the violence is good, I really like the new cast, and I can't wait to see Scream 6, which is coming out in just a couple of months with a lot of the new cast members coming back. If this is any indication, the Scream legacy is in good hands. Next, we have Top Gun Maverick. This movie is really the pinnacle of what modern blockbuster action filmmaking can be. This is the rare sequel I think that not only improves on the original, but kind of blows it out of the water. The first Top Gun's an enjoyable movie, very much of its time. But this is a thrilling, beautifully shot movie with aerial footage and stunt work that they, as much as they could, actually did. Smarter people than me have written articles and talked about how Tom Cruise goes for broke and does all the stunts himself and is insane in his commitment to sacrificing anything that would seem rational in order to make great cinema. And he convinced a lot of his cast here to learn how to fly, or at least get up in the airplanes in a way that let the cinematographer and the director film them in the sky. So there's minimal use of CGI and green screen. I'm sure there is still plenty of it, but the tactical, practical approach to filmmaking and effects makes these scenes so stunning on the big screen, on IMAX, if you are able to see it as such. This movie is thoughtfully written. It pays homage to the legacy of the original while charting a new course. It has fascinating character dynamics and melodrama. There's a great arc and narrative building up to what is an incredible last 30 to 40 minutes of thrilling action. It is just so scorching and nerve-wracking, and every time I saw it in theaters, and this was a movie that was worth going to see a couple times, I was grasping my armrest because it's so intense. The new cast is really good. Glenn Powell is a charisma machine. Miles Teller and Tom Cruise have such a great dynamic and back and forth in this movie. Val Kilmer has a beautiful scene, and Jennifer Connelly is always so beautiful and lovely, and she is a great match for Tom Cruise in this movie. This is just a fun, beautiful action movie, and I cannot wait to watch this again and again, as I'm sure I will. Finally, we have come to the end here. We have Turning Red. I thought this was a really great Pixar movie. And sometimes through the most specificity, something becomes truly universal, and I think that's the case here. This movie is quirky and beautiful, hilarious, deeply relatable. I saw some hubbub about because this movie is so specific that it was the first Pixar movie that mass audiences couldn't relate to. And I couldn't disagree with that more. Emotions are universal, and just because something is happening to the characters in this movie that never happened to you doesn't mean that you can't relate to and understand the emotions and the feelings behind what they're going through. And who among us didn't come of age? We all did. We all grew up and had hormones and boy or girl troubles and bands that we loved and overbearing parents and whatever our culture may have been. And this is a really great coming of age film. The animation is gorgeous, of course. It's Pixar. The score is awesome. I love the band within this movie, Four Town, and their pop songs. Really clever stuff. Domishi's vision is really singular, and I think this movie is all the better for it. And there you have it. Those are my numbers 20 through 11, presented alphabetically. Coming up in the sequel video to this will be my top 10 ranked. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like it, subscribe to this channel, share it around. Let me know what some of your favorite movies from the year were, and stay tuned for the top 10, because if this is 20 through 11, these movies would have made a great top 10 in any year. We have just even more great cinema to come. We'll see you next time.